I went back out after I looked at the file some more, and noticing the word copy on the file, as well as a copy of the state's demand, a state's demand for discovery, file stamp November 17, 2016, within the file about the file.
Mm-hmm.
I went out and asked whether Sergeant Gaither kept things in her file that she had labeled copy, or did she keep the originals in her file? She said when she made copies for other people, she put the word copy on the documents, and every document in here has copy written on it. So there's also a handwritten set of notes within this file that she says is neither her writing nor Detective Dennis's writing. And so what I believe that this is a copy of her file, the copy that was served on July 21st, 2022, and not her actual original. Even the document that I was looking at with respect to the name Nard Quindarius Zachary has the word copy written on it. So she said her original file would not have copies. It would just have the original. So this appears to be, and I would ask that anyone who wants the opportunity to ask questions, and even reviewing the video of her and Quindarius Zachary's interview, she has a file folder in front of her that when she opens it up, before she opens it up, it has something white on the front that is not present on this particular file folder. So this looks like a copy of hers. And
I don't know what it looks like, but
Okay. These men are all fighting for their lives. I don't know how we get to a point where we just grab a file and then just throw it in front of a detective, and the detective's like, yeah, looks like my file, in front of a jury. And then over a lunch break, then we determine, well, it's actually not her file. And again, none of us were even told about the file before it was even presented in front of the witness. None of this makes any sense. If it's not her file, then it should have never been presented as her file in court.
well, if it's a copy of her file, I mean, why don't we just get her in and ask her?
go get. I agree, Your Honor. And
Ms. Lav, if you'll present her with that file, please. Sergeant Gaither, do you have any idea what that document is or set of documents is that Ms. Love just presented to you?
It looks like paperwork from my case with Dexter Montgomery case. Majority of these documents say copy, so I'm assuming it's a copy.
Can you either speak into the mic more or speak up more, or both, please?
It appears to be documents from the Dexter Montgomery case file. The majority of these documents have copy on it, so I'm assuming it's a copy of the file.
A copy of the file. And why would a copy of your file have been made? Because it's still in, like, folder form.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, the original, I never give out my original file to like the DA's office when it's requested through the complaint room or a different attorney. So I would make a copy and give that to them as opposed to the actual file, the actual original folder.
Okay. And would you put it in a folder like that brown folder?
Yeah, it would be similar to this. It would have separate things, and my case file would have like a white paper with a type form on the front with the suspect name, case number, and address.
All right. Do any defense counsel have questions for Sergeant Gaither about this file?
did,
Come on up where she can hear you.
I know it's been said in court before, but it's Sergeant, right? Sergeant?
Yes. No, retired, whatever.
Okay. Good afternoon, Sergeant Gaither.
Good afternoon.
Do you typically, when you send files to the DA's office, is your normal practice back when you were working as a police officer, would you make a copy of your file and send it to the DA's office?
If it was requested or portions of it, originally when we send a case over, we would, whatever we have for the complaint room, copies would be made, but the actual original file would not be given.
And my understanding is that these copies would be made after arrest, after you close the case, correct?
Not necessarily after arrest.
Okay. Is that, I'm looking at a kind of rust brown file. Is that the typical appearance of one of the files that you would have copied or copy and send to the DA's office?
Not all the time, but I do use these file folders like this.
Okay, so there's nothing about that file that indicates that's not something you sent to the DA's office?
That I didn't?
Yes. There's nothing about that file itself. For instance, you're not saying, oh, I've never used that type of folder or anything like that. That's consistent with something that you would send to the DA's office.
I've used it in the past. I've used manila folders. I've used envelopes.
All right. And I'm going to ask, I think I know the answer, but you don't specifically remember what the appearance of the copy you made on the Dexter Montgomery case looked like?
Not the actual folder, or no, not the actual folder.
Okay,
no.
but the contents are consistent with copies that you would have made and sent to the DA's office, correct?
Yes, they have copy on it with my initials and the date.
Okay, okay, that's helpful. Thank you for telling me that. Could you show me where your initials are? So that initial right there, and I'm not trying to give you a hard time, I'm just trying to understand. That initial right there, is that in relation to that specific document, or is that the first document in the folder, so it relates to the folder itself?
If you're talking about the actual folder, not the contents, I can't say that I initialed the folder, but the contents, if a copy was made of a particular document,
Gotcha.
I wrote copy with my initials and the date.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
Any other defense attorneys who have any questions for Sergeant Gaither about this issue?
On behalf of Mr. Williams, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
All right. Okay,
May I just ask a question?
you may.
Retired Sergeant Gaither, does this file, is this the file that I asked you whether you recognized before you came in to testify the last time? This whole?
Just now, yes.
Yes. And you mean when you say just?
Yeah.
You said the last time. Are we talking about earlier today, or are we talking about in April?
Earlier today. Is this the file that I asked you if you recognize? Did I ask you before you came in here, before 11:30 and testified, whether you recognized this file?
Yes.
Did you, at the time you looked at it, notice or take note of the fact that each of the documents inside from your file had the word copy on it? Did you notice that at that time? Were you?
Yes. Notice my initials just now?
No, not just now.
Oh, no. Prior to, yes.
And when I spoke to you before you came in, before you testified, where there was where the jury was in here, did I ask you specifically about an incident report that is on the back page of the file folder itself regarding Demise McMullen and the kidnapping.
Yes.
Did I ask you did I ask you about if that was a part of your file?
Yes.
Did I ask you at that time about some handwritten notes that are a part of this file
Yes.
that I'm holding in my hand before you came in the last time?
Yes.
Did I? When you're describing yes, what do you mean?
When I was sitting back here in the room.
And when I asked you whose was this, did you know who it was?
No.
Did you tell me whether or not it appeared to be Detective Dennis's writing? And did this appear to you to be Detective Dennis's writing?
No.
Before you started testifying, before when I asked you about it, did you notice then, before you were testifying in front of the jury, a certified copy of a conviction for Walter Murphy in the file before you got in front of the jury?
No.
On break, while we were at lunch, did I ask you whether you got this certified copy of Walter Murphy's conviction or would that have been in your original file?
Yes, you asked me that.
Would,
Yes, you asked me that.
what was your answer?
No.
So this certified copy of Walter Murphy's conviction was not in your original file?
No, ma'am.
And this writing on this piece of paper I'm holding up wasn't either?
No.
Okay. But did I ask you about any of the things that had copy on them before you testified in front of the jury? Or was my question about what was in the back?
What was in the back regarding McMullen?
And when you looked at it, did you tell me that it looked like your file?
Yes.
Are the documents that have copy on them copies of things that are in your original file?
Yes.
Have I shown you any file pertaining to the Dexter Montgomery shooting other than the one that I'm holding now?
No.
Have I ever shown you these photographs that have copy on the back of them, any original of these photographs that did not have copy?
No.
Inside the video for your interview with Quindarius Zachary, are you holding a file folder in your hands?
I believe it's on the table.
It's on the table?
I believe so.
Is that the file for the Dexter Montgomery shooting or something else?
I believe it's for
Oh, I'm sorry.
Adele.
Okay, for Adele?
The one that was on the table?
Yeah.
I
Okay,
believe that was for Adele Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Yes.
Good afternoon.
Have you looked through what everyone's calling the file, but I'm referring to the brownish colored, it's being held up right now. Have you looked through all those documents by any chance today?
Not thoroughly, no, sir.
All right. If the court lets you, would you just look through it and just tell us if there's anything from your file on this April 12th, I think I got the date right, April 12th, 2015 shooting, the Dexter Montgomery shooting, that is not in what Mr. Atkins is holding right now?
I couldn't tell you every piece of information or document that should be in the original file. That was almost 10 years ago. I couldn't tell you either way.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes.
when you make copies of your files for the DA's office
Mm-hmm.
about cases that the DA's office will be prosecuting, do you omit pertinent police reports from those copied files?
Do I omit pertinent?
Do you leave things out, or do you copy everything?
If it's information that I have from my original file, it will go into the copy.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Hey, Sergeant, good afternoon.
Sir, good afternoon.
I have a couple of questions just to follow up. You testified earlier that you said portions of it I will send over to the district attorney's office. Can you tell the court, as a practice pattern of what you do in terms of getting that information to the DA's office, what are those portions that you would send over to the district attorney's office when you're sending the file over?
Well, initially, I don't know if APD still uses the complaint room or what the process is now, but that's what I followed up with that question. A lot of information would not necessarily be in a complaint room case file that you would initially send over to the DA's office. So that's what I was speaking of. You would have the original police reports. Their surveillance stills or videos, stuff like that would be sent over to the complaint room. If whatever district attorney is assigned to the case for preliminary hearings or information like that, if they would like the entire file, then the file would be copied and sent to them. So I was speaking more or less about portions of the file would be sent to the complaint room,
Okay.
if that makes sense to you.
Okay. So what are generally the documents that you would, as a matter of your practice,
Yes, sir.
would routinely be held back with your office, with you and your file, that would not go to the district attorney's office?
Your Honor, could he clarify when he says would not? Does he mean initially or ever?
Well,
I don't know what he means.
Okay. Well, let's just break that up.
Yes, sir.
The documents that are in your file that you house in your folder as part of an investigation, you said portions will go to the district attorney's office. So that suggests to me that there are portions that don't.
Well, to the district attorney's office, I mean the complaint room. So early on in the case, when you're charged and you obtain your warrant, it has to go to the complaint room. So a lot of information or documents may not exist yet until, let's say, after you interview a person, and you may obtain more information. So therefore, it will be added to the original file.
Okay. All right. So then it's basically the investigation is continuing to be ongoing from the time that some documents make it to the complaint room and the time that other pieces of your file will eventually go to the district attorney's office at a later date. Am I understanding you?
Correct. The complaint room is part of the district attorney's office, but it's one of the initial, I guess, attorneys that touch the case. So once the case is, I don't know what the process is of assigning a case to a particular district attorney to prosecute in court for preliminary hearings or trial, the initial portions of an original case file will go to the complaint room, which is just the first portion of evidence that you obtain. So the complaint room basically looks over your case and they make the determination if it's prosecutable or you need more things to go forward with the case actually being assigned to an actual attorney.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right.
And we have the date, the email date, and the copy of the email where the state served the copy of what was shown to Sergeant Gaither today in the original email.
So I guess just when the jury gets back out, clarify this in her original file, it's a copy of her file. And it's your belief, Sergeant Gaither, that what exists now is the copy that you made to send to the DA's office at whatever time they requested it. Is that fair?
It's fair, but like I said, it appears that they may have added some documents to that.
Once
but
they had it in
yeah.
their possession.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. Okay. Are we ready for the jury?
On the lunch break, Mr. Sharp handed to Mr. Atkins a thumb drive of exhibits
Okay.
that he said he's going to use. At the time that he gave it to us, we could not open it or access it, and I think he's he did something in the last moments that allows us to access. I don't know what's on
Okay.
it.
Your Honor, we can use them now. Yeah. It's been rectified, Your Honor. Me and Mr. Sharp worked together and we
Great,
figured it out.
fantastic. I love it when attorneys can work together as professionals. That is wonderful. Okay, so you've had a chance to see what's on it.
No, we're looking.
Your Honor, because it was my fault for not being able to open it earlier, no, I have not been able to listen to all of them, but I have them.
Okay, is
So-
this
They're
It's-
all clips from the video that was.
all righty? Great. And is the video already in? Okay. Thank you. All right. Are we ready for the jury? Yes. Okay. Let's get the jury.